I'm Tammy Beilstein. Welcome to Tammy's Window on Calaveras. I am so honored to have with me tonight Gail Belmont from Quilts of Honor here in Calaveras County. And we talked for about, a few minutes just before the show was starting here, and she already brought me to tears. I love what she does. You're going to be so happy to meet her. Gail, thank you for being here.
Well, it's my honor.
Oh, well, tell me about the work that you do here. I mean, obviously you make these gorgeous quilts. Where are they made? How are they made? Who do they go to?
Well, we make them in Valley Springs, California. That's the headquarters of Quilts of Honor.
Okay.
But we have groups all now across the United States and mostly Central and Northern California. Mm-hmm. So we have people in Turlock, Modesto, we have in the Bay Area, we have Lodi, Stockton, and then ladies, of course, here in Valley Springs. Mm-hmm. And all of them volunteer their time, and all of them actually make these quilts and then donate them to Quilts of Honor, which is a 501(c)(3) nonprofit, and then we award those to military personnel, either veterans or wounded warriors.
Oh, that's so neat. Now, are you the person that started this whole thing here in Valley Springs? Is it your baby?
Yeah, it's my baby. We actually started doing it for another military organization, and then in 2010 we founded Quilts of Honor ourselves. Okay. And I'm a veteran myself, and because I played taps when I was in Vietnam during that era, I played during Alabama and Mississippi, and funerals in Mississippi and Alabama are nothing like you would see today. Yeah. And so it changed my life. So when all this war began, we wanted to do something that would give back and something that would not forget all the other veterans like we got forgot during Vietnam. So we started Quilts of Honor, and I've been very fortunate. I have a group of ladies that have stayed with us all along. We've been doing this since 2005. We've probably done, oh my God, maybe over 6,000 quilts that have gone out the door. Every quilt is one of a kind. There's never one the same. We do events all over the California and wherever anybody else needs us. What we do is when we present a quilt, the quilt is put in what we call, this is a presentation case right here, and we actually present the quilt in the presentation case. And as you can see, these are services with like the Navy, the Marines, and the Army.
And they open up, they're a pillowcase.
Yes, they're a pillowcase, presentation case.
Presentation.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Even though it's it's a fancy presentation case. And we put the quilt inside this, and then we present the quilt to the recipient, and when we hand it to them, we actually shake their hand and we thank them for their service and their sacrifice to their country. So for some that have never been thanked, like World War II, Korea, Vietnam, this is a thank you that they've never received. Yeah. So it's very important to me to do this, because some of these warriors have lived with these memories for 40, 50 years, and this is a way that they see that strangers cared for them.
Right.
And it's something they can hand down, because quilting is a tradition. Yeah. So, you know, when they pass on, then it gets handed down to the family.
They're gorgeous. Now, I was curious about something. You said that you saw things at these funerals in these other states that changed you. What was it you saw, and how did it change you?
Well, Alabama and Mississippi, very poor states, especially in 69, 70. And we had demonstrators that we would go to perform the funeral, the honor guard would, and they'd block the road so that we couldn't perform our honors.
No.
And there was numerous other things, but it's very hard for me to talk about it. And
that's heartbreaking.
In some ways, I'm kind of like the guys. I don't like to talk about it either. But it was worth it, because look what I do now. Yeah. You know, and I still play taps today. I play with my honor guard with Valley Springs Post 102.
How do you do that without crying? That song is so beautiful.
You can't play and cry.
I know. How do you do that?
Well, I played it for so many years, and I also got, last May, I got invited to go play at Arlington National Cemetery, because I belong to buglers across America. So to a bugler, playing in Arlington is kind of like, you know, riding in Cadillac, right? And so I was very thrilled that I could go, and everybody chipped in money for me to go, because they wanted me to. And like one lady bought my jacket, my uniform jacket.
How sweet.
And So about 2 weeks before I was scheduled to go to play at Arlington, I got an email from the White House that said I was selected as the Vietnam veteran for Champions for Change.
Oh my gosh, look, you gave me goosebumps.
So
that is so cool.
Then I got to go to, and so it was like 4 days after I finished playing tap, so I got to stay over and go to the White House.
Oh, such an honor.
And well, it was an honor because they were honoring me for doing Quilts of Honor. But this is like, I can't do it by myself.
Right. No. So there's a large group of women who are doing it, and men, or all women.
Yeah, no. I one of my best piecers is a man.
Nice. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well,
and then where in Valley Springs do you guys meet?
We actually meet at the Belmont Family Quilts, which is off of Stabulous Road, and then every fourth Wednesday we have a workshop, and we get ladies from Turlock, Modesto, Placerville, Concord. Everybody comes up for the day.
Okay.
And we feed them, and they do whatever it takes to get the quilts out the door.
Oh my goodness. Who pays for the materials and the machines and all of those things?
Everything is donation.
From all across the country?
Well, not really across the country. We haven't got that much advertisement out yet, but we're hoping that, you know, we will get that. We did make a quilt for Walmart because the Jackson store, all the employees, when they found out we were going to Washington, D.C., they said they wanted to be involved.
Yeah.
So they wanted to make a quilt. So we helped them make a quilt, and all the employees signed the back of the quilt. And the front of the quilt is Sam for Sam Walton, and then it has the Walmart Sparks on it, and then it says that Walmart supports veterans.
Very nice.
That'll be hung in the show back in D.C., and then they'll have to fight me to get it back, because they would like to put it in the museum in Arkansas.
Oh, but Walmart would like to have it back.
Walmart would like to have it. Yeah,
that's a tough one. Flip a coin? How do you do that?
Yeah, I don't know, but you know, each one of these are valuable in the fact of just giving them to the warrior or the veteran. I mean, last night I gave one to Helen Hewitt right here in San Andreas, and Helen has done work for veterans for many, many years. She did not know she was getting a quilt, and they had her family hidden in the back. So
how special.
It was great. They called me up and they introduced me, and then I, of course, said that, you know, Helen deserved this quilt, so because she was in the Army.
She was?
Yeah, in World War II. So, so we awarded her the quilt, and the family came out, and she saw her family, and she was so thrilled, and everybody at the VFW was like yelling and screaming and clapping, and so, you know, that's an experience that Ellen's going to just remember the rest of her life.
And so will her kids and grandkids.
Right, exactly.
That is really neat.
So that's just one little thing that when you give the quilt, it's so important.
Yeah.
You know, to the recipient as much as it is to the ladies that make it.
Right.
Yeah.
So what kind of people do you find to make these quilts? Are these are not professional seamstresses? They are, and are all these made by machine or hand and machine combination?
They're all made by machine. Pieced by machine, and they're actually quilted by machine, but most of these that you see here are quilted freehand on a freehand long arm. So that means that you make the long arm do what you want it to do.
I don't even know what that is. A machine with a very long...
It's pretty big. That's why they call it long arm.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's how most of these are made.
Golly, look at the work in that.
But these three quilts that we have tonight with us are going to Washington, D.C. to our quilt show. When I was back there in May, we had one quilt that was featured in the National Marine Museum for Quilts of Honor. So when I was back there, I asked the director, I said, well, what do you think if we just filled this place up with quilts? Not really thinking, you know. And she said, you know what? Submit me a proposal. And so I had my crew with me, and sometimes my crew can be 3, sometimes it can be 6, and they're all looking at me like, have you lost it? 3,000 miles and you want to do a quilt show, right? And they accepted the proposal. So October the 4th,
gosh. You're going to make it work.
Oh yeah, we'll show 150 plus quilts.
Wow!
And those quilts will go back to the veterans and the wounded, probably in that area. And while we're back there, we got honored to hang the wreath at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
Oh my gosh!
In Quilts of Honor's name. So
That's huge.
yeah, and then we're going to also go to the Vietnam Wall because one of our quilters took care of her wounded husband for 41 years in her house. He lost both his legs, and they actually communicated by a trach because he had had massive brain problems. But 41 years she took care of a wounded Vietnam veteran.
Oh, that's
and he passed away, and his name went on the wall.
Okay.
So when we go back, I'm going to play taps at the wall for her.
Oh, that's so neat.
In Johnny's name. So we're doing
Are you
some
going to have someone
great
there
things.
to film you doing this? That would be so neat to show us later.
Well, yeah, would.
Wow.
I haven't found that person yet.
Okay.
We'll work on it.
We might be able to find someone here.
Yeah. You guys want to go to DC?
That is so cool.
So yeah. So
Now these are both large quilts. Is there a requirement that they have to be a certain size?
yeah, we have a specific.
or not larger than
we
a
have a
certain size?
specific size. Our minimum is 50 by 60, and not larger, like by 55 by 65. And
What size is this here? This
That's
is
a
big.
50. That's actually 50 by 60. It looks
Oh.
bigger than what it is.
Okay.
It just depends on sometimes the way you lay it out. But we stick to these sizes because sometimes when we're giving them, we don't know, are they going to be on a bed? Are they going
Right.
to be, in a hospital or where exactly they're going?
Yeah.
We don't necessarily anymore give to too many hospitals because what we have found is that you can't give them the personal touch. And the personal touch is actually giving them the quilt and
Yeah.
actually putting a name on the back. Each one of ours has a special label, and each one is numbered and registered. And we know when this one will be awarded, it'll have their name in there and the date and who awarded it. So
Oh, nice.
years to come, people will always be able to pick this up and know where it actually
Yeah.
came from. So
Can this be washed?
oh yeah, that's why these quilts are quilted a little heavier than other quilts because we make them to last.
Okay, and this will stay on here forever.
Yeah, well, this
Okay.
is specially printed. We have it. It's actually made at a fabric company, and we had them made up special just for Quilts of Honor.
Oh, so neat.
So-
Now, so you mentioned that you had gone to hospitals to give quilts. If you find that someone is maybe nearing death or has some kind of disease where they have a limited time, do they get moved to the top of the list? How do people get on your list?
Well, we have a website, quiltsofhonor.org. Anybody can go onto the website and request a quilt. The qualifications are also on the website.
Okay.
And one of our qualifications is, like for Vietnam vets, is Agent Orange. Well, you don't get a medal for Agent Orange. Like most get a Purple Heart if they're shot or
Yeah.
blown up. And Agent
And
Orange,
they don't get anything?
They didn't get nothing except most of them end up with cancer or MS or heart disease. And so that's one of our top things. If we get one of the guys that has Agent Orange, the quilt usually goes out within a week if we have them.
Oh, nice. So there's a spot on the online form to put your own little personal notes in
you
there.
you have to give us your background
Okay.
basically to make sure that you qualify. It's basically any combat related conflicts that we cover. Like the
Okay.
Purple Heart is you're wounded or shot, in action, and then post-traumatic stress, which most of the generation now coming back has post-traumatic stress with one tour.
Yeah.
And then traumatic brain injury, which they do not get a Purple Heart for that either. Most of them are
Wow.
diagnosed 2 years after the fact. And
That's awful.
it is awful. And so if we give them a quilt, at least they know somebody cared.
Yeah.
It might be and they always say, a stranger actually did this for me.
That is
know,
so neat. Oh
so-
gosh, I'm going to start tearing up. That is so cool.
You can't cry in my business.
Oh,
Everybody
wow.
else does it for me, because if I cried every time we did something, we'd be in deep water.
Oh, that's so neat. I can't help but think about my father-in-law. He's 88 now. He was in World War II. He was a bombardier, and he didn't talk a whole lot about his experiences as my husband was growing up. In the last few years, he knows he's getting closer to the time when he's going to be going to heaven. He's been talking a bit more, but it's very, very hard. And there were so many things he missed out on while he was fighting in the war. I know he knows that we appreciate all that he did, but I can only imagine having these beautiful quilts coming from total strangers. You can obviously see the time and the effort and the love that went into them. That's amazing.
Well, the other thing that we do is we can do ceremonies, and we actually award more than one at a time. Sometimes, like we'll be going to Chico on September the 5th, and we're scheduled right now to award 21. And sometimes
neat.
that'll turn into like 40, but by word of mouth. And
Who organizes that?
basically, we organize everything through the headquarters. So sometimes our point of contacts in the different cities will say, you know, I want to do an award ceremony. I got 5 or 6, you know, can we do it? And so when we do a ceremony, a lot of times we have a national anthem brought in, we bring the colors in. We make it very special because it's an honor. We're honoring them for it. And we call them by each one by name and then present them the quilt. So let's see, we have one coming up in August. We're going to Milpitas to Orange Brotherhood. Now, Orange Brotherhood are strictly guys from Vietnam that got Agent Orange.
Okay.
And we've grown to be giving them quite a few quilts. And they're a forgotten group also.
Yeah.
Korean, you know. But we should work on, you know, getting a quilt for your, you know, father-in-law because we give to all the World War II guys that, you know, I just can't, we can't do it enough. I mean,
there aren't a lot of them left.
And their stories.
Oh my goodness. He goes to, his group would have reunions of their own group. Now that there's a smaller number of them, they get together with other people, but I think my father-in-law might be the last or almost the last person left from his plane.
Yeah.
They're just,
it's
so sad.
It is sad, and it's important that we get a lot of them now. A lot of the places are doing what they call Spirit of 45.
What is that?
Well, it's just for World War II recipients, and they're trying to honor them in one way or another, even if it's to have a little party and to thank them for what they did during World War II.
Oh, that's so
a lot of the convalescent homes, assisted living quarters are doing that. We did Stockton. We gave out we gave out 19 quilts at assisted living there to all the veterans that qualified combat related.
Gosh.
We had 3 nurses, and which is rare, and the rest were all men, but they've never forgotten us. And the women were so thrilled that we did it that they started making their own peanut brittle and selling it and giving us the proceeds
that's
from
really
it.
cool.
I mean, is that sad or what though? I mean, you wonder, golly, that, you know, they thought it was so important that we didn't forget them.
Oh, look how you've touched them. That is so neat.
And I thought, make peanut brittle, right?
Oh, any way that they can help, huh?
Yeah.
Now, what if someone like me, I cannot quilt. I mean, I could try, but you wouldn't want to hang it up anywhere. So would someone like me, be able to donate materials to you? Are all the quilts red, white, and blue?
They are basically red, white, and blue, or what we call Americana colors, or military colors.
So if I found materials at a fabric store, red, white, and blue colors, maybe a few others, I could send them to you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we take any kind of donation. We even do take fabric donations of different kind, and what we do is we sell it, and the proceeds go back to Quilts of Honor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm curious, how long does it take you to make one quilt? Or not just you, because you're a pro. You probably just...
Well, I don't sew. All I sew is on my long arm, which is my big sewing machine. I couldn't stitch one of these things if you paid me. I mean, I can't even stitch a button, seriously.
Love this.
But it can take a week to 6 months to make a quilt. It depends on just the technicality of the quilt and how much is done to it.
Okay. My goodness. And so the people who make these are not all meeting in Valley Springs. They are meeting at their own places all over the place, and they send them to you in Valley Springs.
Yes.
Okay. Do you happen to know your address by heart, where they can send these?
6516 Stabulus Road, Valley Springs, California.
Okay, Stabulus, S-T-A-B-I-L-U-S?
S-T-A-B-U-L-I-S.
U-L-I-S, okay.
Yeah.
I hope that we have a way to get that on the show later. That is really cool. And what is your website address before we forget?
Quiltsofhonor.org.
Okay.
and you can get any kind of information you really basically need off of the website.
Yeah.
And we mail all across the United States.
Okay.
So, and we actually have one person that volunteers and comes in once a week, and then she mails anything that we have received, because we receive them by, a lot of times by computer, the requests. And so then we mail them out. So last year we went to every state in the United States.
Golly. Now just that by itself must cost a fortune. These quilts are heavy.
Well, if an average quilt costs us out of California $15.95, I think we're paying now, flat rate.
Okay.
Whatever that's what we play about.
Is it one
flat
of those
rate.
where if you can fit it in the box,
Yeah,
it's a
fit it in
certain
the
price?
box.
Okay.
So we usually fit one quilt in a flat rate box.
Okay.
If we have to go more than one, then we're getting into the dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the person receiving the quilt, do they find out who it was who nominated them, or whatever word it is?
Yes, each one has a letter on the back to each recipient, and if you nominated somebody, your name would go on there. Tammy requested the quilt for you, so that they know that you know that's how they got the quilt. And then a lot of times we find out about the recipient, and so we just mail them out the quilt. And you know, I've gotten so many different letters about how they said when they got the box and they opened up the box, the surprise was just unbelievable. Even, you know, we love giving them in person, but it's still, they don't suspect it. And that's the beautiful thing about what we do is we try not to tell the recipient. We always try to do it as a surprise. Because if you do tell them, it stresses them.
Does it?
Most think they don't deserve it.
Oh.
I mean, that's just a common, you know.
Really? Isn't
yeah.
that sweet?
Or they'll say, the older
Yeah.
guys will say, "Oh, give it to the young ones."
Oh, so
Yeah.
sweet.
So-
Those older guys, especially to me, what an awesome generation.
Yeah, really.
But anybody who would go and fight for our freedoms, it just blows me away. I don't think I could do it. It's not me. That's.
Well, I think everybody's special in their own way, but veterans have a special bond.
Yeah.
Even, you know, after you serve together, they're your brothers and your sisters, and you always, you know, want to help each other in one way or another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your most memorable recipient?
Oh my gosh, I can't.
Who was your?
I can't even, see, I gave to a major general one time. I didn't know he was a major general. His daughter made the quilt, and she had never quilted before. And she made it because she was a military brat, which that means she was raised under, you know, military. And so when she got it done, she said, "Gail, just give it to any recipient." So when she got it done, I said, no, no, no. She told me her dad was, you know, like you know, Army, retired, so I said, I'm going to give it to her dad. So 2 weeks before Christmas, I packed it all up after I'd quilted it, and I sent it to her, and I said, "You're to give this to your dad at Christmas, you know." And so she gave the quilt to her dad, and a few weeks later, I was standing in the shop, and the telephone rings, and my sister's a little on the bossy side. She answers the phone, and
Is she older?
No, she's actually younger too.
Well, that's backward. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And so she says, "Okay," and she just like hands me the phone, shoves me the phone, you know. And I'm like, that's not her. She usually asks you your life history before you get the phone, you know. And so I picked the phone up, and he says, "This is Major General Vernon B. Lewis," and I stood at attention right there. I mean, he had this big stern voice, and he was thanking me for the quilt. And you know, we ended up being friends, and he flew me back to DC to a big $25,000 plate dinner, so I could see, so I could see veterans. They picked the top medics in the United States, and so I could be part of that. And it's just, you never know what's going to happen to you, because when the quilter makes the quilt, there becomes a bond when you give it to that person. And
Does the quilt say the name of the person who made it?
Oh yeah,
That's what it said. Okay.
It has who pieced it, who quilted it, who bound it. See, each one after they're quilted has to have this put on. This is what you call binding.
Okay.
That's one person that usually just does that job.
Wow.
And then one person does this top part, and then all that stitching, and then the person does. So
Man.
sometimes 8 people touch this quilt before it goes out the door.
And they're all on here?
Yeah, if whoever's on there that did it, their name is on there.
Gosh, that's so neat.
Yeah.
These are perfect. Are they all made this well, or are these extra special?
Well, these are maybe a little tiny bit more special, but we do a very nice quality quilt because we want them to have something that will last a lifetime.
Yeah.
And something that you're honoring them. If you know, you'd want your kids to have the best, so that's what we tell our ladies, give them the best you can do.
Right, right. Now, what if someone is not able to come and quilt with you? They can do this in their own home. What if they send it to you and it's not the kind of quality like this that you'd want to present to someone new?
We have homes. We find homes. We find homes for them. Yeah. And they usually go to pretty good homes. We don't have too many like that because we've got a reputation of putting a nice quality quilt out there, and we actually have policies and procedures, and even though we're nonprofit and we're volunteer, but if we didn't have rules, we couldn't keep getting getting the quality that we are getting.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so neat. I love the whole idea of honoring the veterans. I had mentioned briefly that we, at Hospice of Amador and Calaveras, we have a new program now where we train veterans to be family support volunteers for patients who are veterans, because someone like me or my husband or someone who was not in the military could never relate to them and the stories that they have and the experiences they've had the way another veteran could.
Right.
And I think what you're doing is it just blows me away. I am so impressed.
Oh no, like I said, it's not me. It takes a lot of people. And like my folks, they own the shop, and they have the quilting machines that help us do it. And I have ladies. I have one lady that comes in sometimes 40 hours a week, just volunteering, just to help keeping it moving. And like you said, people think, well, I can't help you because I can't quilt.
Right.
Well, we need computer people. We need, there's a lot of things that we don't know about that, we could, use help at. There's always something to do, even like, packaging things, or we quality control each one. So like even trimming threads, just, and you don't have to sew to trim threads.
Right.
Yeah.
And so then if someone even had a few dollars, they could donate. That could go toward the cost of mailing and that sort of thing too then?
Oh, yeah.
So there's ways anybody can help.
Yeah, right. You don't
like
just
that.
have to sew.
Yeah. I am so happy to meet you and that you were able to come on tonight.
Well, it's an honor to come, and this has been an honor to do it. I mean,
you're a wonderful
this
lady.
has been more things happen to me because we did, because we are doing it. Sometimes I get to do some really great things. Sometimes they hug me and kiss me, when I'm giving the quilt.
Well, I'm going to as soon as we're done. So, I'm so sorry. I have to cut this short. We have to get going. But please come back after you're done with your travels and find somebody to take lots of pictures or videos so you can share it with us.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you so much. And thank you for watching. And I'll see you next time on Tammy's Window on Calaveras. Oh, I think you're great.
Thank you.